Hi, 10MinuteBible.com presents 10-Minute Exegesis with 10-Minute Bill. That should take about 10 minutes. Today, we're going to be looking at 1 Peter, the first 4 verses, passage about wives and their husbands. And to start, we'll go over to the online Bible and grab the text of 1 Peter chapter 3, the first 4 verses. We'll highlight it and we'll cut and paste it into a Word document, and then we're on our way. The first thing we want to do is split up the passage so there's a phrase or a clause that's significant on each line, as so. And then we're going to go back and label and indent the stuff. So it starts out with a likewise, which means it's going to go back somewhere else. Wives, submit to your husbands, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So let's go pick up a OneNote document and see if I can get it to work. The basic format, for those of you who are relatively clueless, is the purpose, reason, result, means, manner. We call that a nuance. The nuance of the subject is the complement. 3 parts. And if you don't understand that, memorize it until you do, but we'll talk about it and you'll eventually catch on. So let's go take a look at our passage down below here. We'll jump in, have a word called likewise right at the beginning. It's like something that happened up above, and that's going to be describing the verbal proposition, which is going to be something from below, but we'll come back to that. It's kind of confusing. Let's just go to a piece that's even easier. Wives, be subject or submissive. It's pretty easy. That's going to be a verbal proposition. The verb to be is implied right here, and then it's going to have a phrase, to your own husbands, and we want to figure out how those two are related. This verse down here tells us something about this one up here. We ask the questions who, what, when, where, how, or why, and we come out with the answer, the one. The one to whom wives should be submissive is their own husbands. So we have our verbal proposition, a modifying phrase, and we combine those so it looks like this. These 2 guys here, same with the ones up above, are going to combine to here. A2 is going to be a summary of these 2 verses. This one here and this one here. Notice 2A, 2B, they combine to A2. So the ones to whom wives should be submissive is to their own husbands. That wasn't hard. And then it's got 2 subpoints underneath it. Okay, now that we've identified our major verbal proposition, let's go back and pick up this likewise that's up top here. In like manner, that's basically what it means. So that's an easy one. It's going to tell you its manner down here. The manner in which wives should be submissive to their husbands. So that tells you that A1 is modifying A2. Is as something up above. We'll determine that later. TBT is to be determined. So the manner in which is the same way as Christ did something, or we'll come back to that. At this point, you don't really, unless you've been following the passage, you're not sure. Okay, we'll pick up down here the last part of verse 1, that even if some do not obey the word, they without a word may be won by the conduct of their wives. May be won up here is a subjunctive verb. How do you know that? Well, you go to the online Bible and you look up under Authorized Version Strong's, and you find out maybe one, if it's got 2 things in brackets after it, one in pointy brackets and one in parentheses, it's a verb. All the verbs are in parentheses. It tells you it's a subjunctive verb, and you can find out all kinds of wonderful things about the subjunctive. It's basically something that might or might happen, and it even gives you a phenomenal clue here. It says conditional clauses that begin with a little word called hina, H-I-N-A, are purpose. So if we had a hina here, that would tell us it's purpose. So let's go back and see. Do we have a hina here? That. Look at that. Bingo, we have a hina. All right, so hina plus the subjunctive is purpose. It's one of these 20 grammar rules that are probably worth knowing. And it's going to clue us into the fact that we've got a purpose going on here. So I come down here. It's my hina and the subjunctive purpose statement. There's my main verb, maybe one. So coming down to this next section, I have the purpose, hina plus the subjunctive, of something up above, wives submitting to their husbands, is something down below, the complement, so that something might happen. So the first thing I do is I look for my verb, maybe one. That's the first one I put in there. Husbands may be one. Verbal proposition, that's what the little BP stands for. So then I have to figure out how the stuff around it modifies it. So we'll start here. If some do not obey the word. So the ones who may be one are those who do not obey the word. They without a word may be one. Without a word up here is going to modify how they're one. Under how you have means or manner. We'll pick means. The means by which husbands may not be one. Notice we're doing this not is with words. So if you don't win them by words, nagging, self-improvement lectures, whatever. How do you win them? Well, let's see. We have this next phrase here, by the conduct of their wives. So that would work means down here. The means by which husbands may be one, contrast to this, is by the conduct of their wives. So, ones who may be one, the way they're not one, the fact that they're one, the means by which they actually are one. And that's going to summarize to give us our purpose statement. So the purpose of wives submitting to their husbands is so that they may be one. And we'll phrase it a little nicely. The purpose of wives submitting to their husbands is so that even disobeying husbands, I didn't realize it was such a critter, may be one without a word, without a world, you get the idea, by the conduct of their wives. So we have 3 points so far. I should submit, the manner in which I submit, and then the purpose of submitting. All right, let's go on. When they observe, okay, this is easy. When, right here, when they observe, when. That answers the question when. So the time when husbands are won by their wives' conduct is basically when they observe them. So you probably knew that right there without a whole lot of effort, but we'll break it down to little pieces. SVP, subordinate verbal proposition. Sub, it's under the order, suborder, verbal proposition. Husbands observe. The thing which husbands observe is their wives' blameless conduct. Chaste is blameless. If you're going to look it up, you discover that's the piece that's in there. And then you've got this little phrase, accompanied by fear. Accompanied was added by the translators. It's basically with fear, with reverence, whatever. Going into the New Testament theology of Paul, we say that wives are supposed to respect their husbands. It's the same word. So fear and respect are linked. So we're going to describe the conduct as blameless, but it's also done in respect of the husband and the position God has put them in. If I get time, I'll come back to the other ways of doing this. But I'm looking at my first 10 minutes are probably going. So I'll have to come back and do this in 20 minutes. So I have A, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then I need 5. 5 is going to be verses 3 and 4. The something about husbands being one is whatever follows. So I need to figure out what the nuance is and what the complement is. Subject was easy. That came from up above. Husbands being one. So that's it for now. Tune in next time and we'll see what happens.